Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another podcast episode from Enlyte. For years, claims organizations have focused on controlling costs, improving efficiency, and delivering better outcomes. Today, many leaders are facing a new challenge. It's that claims are becoming increasingly complex. What's driving that complexity? How is it changing the way claims are managed? And what can organizations do now to stay ahead? Joining us today to discuss these questions is Michele Hibbert, Senior Vice President of Regulatory Compliance and Governmental Affairs at Enlyte. Michele, welcome to the podcast. Great to have you here.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Michele, when it comes to claims complexity, can you define what that term means?
Well, I think it's evolved over time, but in general, in property and casualty, claims complexity really reflects how many medical, legal, factual, and regulatory elements must be analyzed to determine liability, causation, damages, appropriate payment, which is the biggest part. It increases, claims complexity increases as the claim severity rises, like we have been seeing. Billing practices are involved in it when they become more aggressive, and litigation pressure, of course.
Got it. And so complexity is driven by a number of factors. Are there any you can think of that you didn't just mention there that are driving the complexity of claims?
Well, I did mention medical severity, and the cost of the claim is probably one of the biggest factors that we've been dealing with. It's nonstop, escalating medical costs. They continue to rise. You think there's an end to it, and there just isn't. Coupled with, of course, we had the pandemic several years ago, and then medical inflation. It was really hard to even figure out what part of the claim was attributed to all of that. I think the providers are a big piece of it. Provider billing behavior, provider billing practices. There's an increase, unfortunately, in out-of-network providers, which is also causing problems in the auto sector and the liability area. I think litigation, social inflation is a big deal. We're seeing a lot of that across the country, and in certain venues like Texas and Georgia, Florida. I didn't mention data fragmentation and the complexity of that. Data fragmentation and the volume of data that we are met with in the claims organizations is huge, and you don't know what to turn to first. And I really think the last piece, which to me is the most important piece, is the regulatory complexity. So when you meld all of these different things together, you end up with a very complex situation, almost like you have to try to build an atom bomb to solve it.
Wow. Well, you mentioned the pandemic. So my next question would have been, and it still might be, but out of all those driving factors, how has claims complexity changed the most in the last 5 years? Like, what's been the biggest driver?
Well, one of the things that I think about when I think about the change in the last 5 years are the people. The baby boomers have retired. We've lost a lot of skill set, a lot, especially in third-party auto claims. It's a big deal. I don't think that claims organizations really realized when people started retiring what they were losing, and that the retraining was just not there. So they did lose a lot of that. I mentioned the sharp rise in medical inflation had happened very, very quickly. So claims organizations couldn't answer it very, very quickly. It's like trying to right a Titanic, especially in very, very large insurance companies. I think and I mentioned it as part of the drivers. Litigation has exploded. Not just in auto, but also in the workers' comp sector as well. We're seeing more and more disputes. Providers are not accepting, especially out of network, payments when even in fee schedule states. So it's causing a lot of litigation. Documentation volume is another, and that's probably in my top three. Claims now include imaging reports, they include telehealth notes, pharmacy data, they include provider narratives. All of these come at the adjuster, sometimes all at the same time. They don't know how to deal with it. Part of that comes with skill and comes with learning. And then lastly, provider behavior has changed. It's variable. You have really great relationships with some, and then you have, like I mentioned, this increase in out of network, especially with, and then that's reflected in how they bill, upcoding. They don't use correct ICD-10 codes to identify diagnoses. They don't use the right CPTs and fee schedule states. They don't understand these fee schedule states. Some of them are very complex, like, in the auto side, Florida, Pennsylvania, and some other states are now using Medicare, and it is complex. Whereas in workers' comp, we're kind of used to it. So there's real difference in how payers are approaching the providers and what they're doing. I know I gave you a lot there.
No, that's okay. No, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. And I don't know if the answer to this next question is like the scope of the litigation, or if there's one common denominator between the different kinds of policy claims that might be the answer here. But, what are some early indicators that a claim might be more complex over time?
Well, delay. That's the very first thing we look at in medical reviews. How long did it take the patient to get the first treatment? And then importantly, and then we're seeing that expand in some sectors of the country because there aren't as many providers servicing, and sometimes it can't be helped. You can't get into the provider. But just looking initially, because we deal with injuries in property and casualty, where did they get urgent care? Where did they get emergency care? Did they ever get it? These types of questions. So there's that. Then there's gaps in care and gaps in treatment. We're also seeing, and I think another area that we can look at is emerging technologies like platelet-rich protein, or things that are brand new that don't have prices attached to them. We see huge variances in what providers are charging, anywhere from $300 to could be $3,000 for a single visit. So having that intelligence when you're operating in the environment is super helpful for claims organizations. And those are the things that evolve every day, every week, every year, and change.
So having the intelligence helps, but how else can organizations better prepare for and manage the kinds of challenges that you're addressing?
Well, technology, you just were kind of alluding to it. Of course, that's the field I'm in. Not just automating everything that you do, but rising up those important factors to the claim representatives to be managed and understand what they are. You have to use analytics to get to that answer. And you can't wait a year to do it. You have to be extremely proactive when you're doing it, which is why machine learning can be super important in creating those review queues that claim representatives can use to help manage the claims. I think that's part of claim intelligence that we talk about. And pretty much everything we do involves some type of technology. Artificial intelligence, yeah, that's a big deal. We can't be afraid of it. A lot of what we're seeing out on the regulatory side is states, and even at the federal level, creating guidance on how to use it or not use it. Mostly what we're seeing in property and casualty is how not to harm a consumer, how to be transparent in the use of it. And when you're working for a technology company like I do, we feel it's more of a method. The data is there. Taking all those different data sources that we talked about in the very beginning and putting them in one platform and being able to mine that data using artificial intelligence. But a human is in the loop the entire time. They're making the decisions, the important decisions for the claim. So I can't get away from the technology aspect of that is the most important thing when the claim representative and insurance companies and the payers we work with are attempting to do better. And you have to do better. You have to kind of almost take a risk and predict. You need to be able to predict what's the next thing that could possibly happen. I can give you an example if you want, a really great example,
Please.
I think. Kentucky is getting ready to implement a PIP fee schedule. Providers in Kentucky in first party have never been, and this will be July, just in a month or so. they've never been fee scheduled ever. So it's really important for insurance companies to know how they paid them in the past and where they think the shifts are going to occur with these providers. So the providers are a very important element to manage and work with on the payments. We have a feeling there will be a migration to the higher paying elements in the fee schedule, or those procedure codes that do not have values, like I mentioned earlier. So if you can be proactive and set yourself up for success by using AI to do that kind of review for you and set it up for the adjuster, it's really a win-win for both sides. And the consumer too, because their policies, they're not overpaying on their policies at the end of the day.
Absolutely. So you mentioned AI and people being open to predicting things and payments. What other key takeaways, or is one of those key takeaways? You mentioned you have a top 3 for something. So what other key takeaways should leaders keep in mind as they navigate this continuously evolving landscape?
You have to look at what carriers are investing in now too. Just looking forward, AI bill-driven review. That's absolutely, we mentioned that. We talked about it already. I think consolidated claims management platforms. When we're integrating our tools in with customers, we see a lot of customers that have bought other insurance companies. They've merged and they're on many different claim platforms. Putting those together for them is a win at the end of the day. I know it's expensive to do, but it's very important that they try to consolidate their tools as much as possible. I would also say that reacting in first and third party and workers' comp, if you have all of those lines of business, consolidating many of those is also important. Creating more provider analytics. That is got to be the focus moving forward, and not all these other
analytics,
extra things surrounding all these other issues like policy issues, whatnot. If you're paying medical claims, you really got to pay attention to that belly button, who that provider is and what they're billing.
Right.
I think having your claim reps ready for litigation. Paying claims equals litigation. It's just there. If they're not, it's a vulnerability for the insurance companies.
Sure. So would analytics, would being prepared for litigation, or something else be something that you would leave your audience with if you could give our audience or your audience one piece of advice that they could take away from this conversation?
Across all lines in property and casualty, I mean, we're all analyzing medical payments and we're trying to pay what is owed on the claim. I think medical bill review is really no longer a cost containment tool. It's a strategic capability, and you have to use it wisely. Don't waste time. I also think as the medical costs rise and litigation pressure increases, the carriers need more sophisticated, data-driven medical bill review solutions that can handle the nuances of first party, of third party. They're very different. You can't attack them the same way. And the workers' comp claims. And the carriers that invest in these integrated solutions and integrated medical management, like advanced analytics, they'll be the ones best positioned, I think, to control their severity and improve the outcomes at the end of the day.
That makes sense. Michele, thank you so much. We appreciate you taking the time to share your insights, viewpoints, and expertise with us today. I sense it was kind of hard to narrow it down to one piece of advice, but I had to ask that question. But yeah, I really appreciate it. We hope this conversation's provided valuable perspective in a growing complexity of claims and how organizations can be better prepared for what's ahead. On behalf of our special guest, Michele Hibbert, this is your host, George, saying thanks everybody for coming to the podcast, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day, everybody.